Hello and welcome to InFocus with me, Curtis Hinton, on Q's News. On today's show, as always, we'll be diving into the biggest stories here at home in the UK and across the world, from the explosive scandals within the Labour Party to a cold critique of Europe and the UK from US Vice President JD Vance. We have plenty to discuss. Joining me to break it all down is journalist and broadcaster David Atherton and the Executive Director of the Heartland Institute for the UK and Europe, Lois Perry. Welcome both of you to the programme.
Hello.
Hello.
Thanks for the invite.
Thanks for coming in. David, we've had you on the programme before. It's not your first time. But first time in the studio.
No, well, I'm glad to be here. You can't beat a studio. There's nothing more tiresome than having to hide the washing when you're at home. when you're in a Zoom call or something like that.
Getting those video links to work, broadband stopped working.
Exactly, yeah. So
Lois,
it's somebody else's fault, you know.
Lois, your first time on the programme.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really looking forward.
Thank you for coming on. You are the UK Executive Director for Heartland Institute.
That's right, for the UK and Europe. So the Heartland Institute has been going for 40 years in America, and it was actually named by the University of Pennsylvania as the US the top think tank in the US. So, you know, it's pretty prestigious and, well, very prestigious. And it's free market, it's climate skeptic, small government, freedom of speech, all the things that I imagine quite a few of your viewers believe in. And I'm honoured to be launching it in the UK, or having launched it in December for the UK and Europe. And Dave came to my event, which was held in St James, and we were very lucky to have Liz Truss. Liz Truss came to my party. Amazing. How cool is that?
Amazing.
And Nigel Farage came, who's a supporter of mine and of the Heartland Institute. And yeah, it was a really, really good night. Big support. It was great, actually.
Just a quick addendum from me. Before I went into broadcasting, I used to be in recruitment. I made a transition when the smoking ban came in. And most of the research, smoking was banned inside in 2007. And most of the research I used at the time actually came from Heartland.
Yeah, thanks for mentioning that.
It was about Bahama passive smoking.
No, that's right. I mean, the Heartland Institute has. We believe in people being able to make their own choices.
Their own decisions.
Yeah, and we receive funds from a number of different sources. Although we're often accused of receiving money from fossil fuels and all of that kind of stuff, but it's absolutely a tiny percentage of our funding has ever come from that. And it's mainly philanthropic individuals who believe in liberty and libertarianism.
And that's what we're seeing in US politics. So we're here to talk about UK politics. We are going to talk a little bit later about JD Vance, his strong words this week. But what you do at Heartland, it's quite focused on what we're doing today in terms of the UK, the state of the UK and Europe, making that switch over. I think we're seeing recent polling. Obviously, it is only polling. We know they can be wrong, but the UK is very much switching over to that. We want our own rights and our own freedom. Absolutely.
Just look at reform, how they're doing. I mean, they're just doing. I'm not politically affiliated. I think, you know, everyone knows that I do have strong links to certain individuals and parties. But I talk to all of the parties, and that's what I'm here to do, to provide information to all of the political parties and to try and get some rational debate going on climate and free speech and all of the above.
Are you really expecting Ed Miliband to show some sense?
I had a chat with Ed Miliband once about net zero. He really believes it all. Genuinely. He passionately, I mean, he's bouncing around. I was at this party. He was a very good friend of mine, who's the former head of BBC Radio 2, is retiring. And he went to his party and it was super woke. I mean, you know, bless. But Ed Miliband was there. And at that time, I was in my previous incarnation, I was the head of the first ever climate skeptic organisation in the UK called CAR26. It was launched around the time of COP26. And anyway, so I think Ed was slightly surprised that I was at this event. And but no, he kept dragging me into the stairwell to have a chat with me about CO2. At least I think that's why he was dragging me into the stairwell.
We'll let people decide on that on their own.
Stratosphere, please.
I want to get talking about Rachel Reeves. A name at the moment is bringing up a lot of controversy. This week it came out with an expenses scandal. She denies any wrongdoing. There's been no set confirmation she's done anything wrong. David, I'm going to start with you on this. Do you think even if there is a hint of something done wrong here, she needs to stand down as the Chancellor?
Very much so. It is not only for her fibs on her LinkedIn and CV, also because she's absolutely an appalling Chancellor of the Exchequer, absolutely clueless. As I mentioned, as I alluded to in the preamble about Heartland, I used to work, before I came into broadcasting and journalism, I have 36 years I worked in recruitment. One of the things you do as a recruiter is, you got the CV in, then you look at the LinkedIn and see if the two marry up. Any discrepancies, really have to be explained well and with authority. By the way, miswriting your CV is actually a criminal offence. It's not a civil offence. It's actually a criminal offence.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
No, I didn't know
imagine at the highest level of government, it's even more punishable.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah. You can go. Well, in fact, I did actually take a guy's CV down to the police station. They refused to prosecute him, but you get it's a criminal offence.
Wow.
Because it's major misrepresentation.
Yeah. Passing off in a way.
Is it classed as fraud? Would that what it would
Yeah,
be?
it's basically fraud. Yeah, that's basically where it's coming from.
In regards to her discrepancies, she said that it was she incorrectly stated that she left the Halifax Bank of Scotland at the time as it was in December 2009, but records of her employment show she ended in May 2009 with a compromised agreement, redundancy. A spokesperson.
That's not good, is it? I mean, because redundancy is used as an excuse to shred
nowadays,
people.
isn't it?
Yeah,
Give them a little payback.
and now she's our Chancellor.
By the way, I know the reason she left. She was not many people know this. It's an exclusive for you. She was taking time off to see the dentist, doing a bit of dog walking.
Right.
When she was really doing her work as a potential Labour Party candidate.
Oh.
Okay.
And not many people know that. There's one of a
Sound like Michael Caine.
yeah, not a lot of people know
Not a lot of
that.
people know
Yeah, I've only myself,
Sorry, Dave. Sorry. Go on,
of
go
her
on.
CV, but she was dismissed for that. She was made to resign because she used to spend the bank time going out and doing
that's not good.
doing her Labour Party work. Apparently, she came with a notice of being fined on her expenses. Yeah, because there were two or three other people. The inside story again.
Part of it.
Yeah, two or three other people were part of it, and they all just got away with it by the skin of their teeth.
Do you know what made me laugh about how girly the list is of the things that she spent the money on? Wasn't it perfume, lipstick,
handbags,
wine, and handbags?
Yeah,
I know, I didn't know she was from Essex. I had no
She went to
idea.
Lewisham,
She's South London girl.
South London.
Right, okay, it's all making sense now.
So she denies any wrongdoing of the expenses.
Of course.
She denies. She says that it was a administrative mistake when it comes to her CV. When you're at the top level, Lois, of government, can you make these mistakes?
Well, they're not mistakes, are they? They're mistruths, as they'd say now. No, you can't. I mean, but I think, I agree with Dave, much worse than scamming a few handbags or whatever, is how horrifically she is running the economy. But to be fair to her, I think these edicts are coming not from her. I don't think she's not coming up with these policies.
She's just putting them out there.
She's putting them out there. I mean, around the time of the whole the farmers stuff, all of the controversy around that, she looked haunted. She looked absolutely haunted. And also the winter fuel payment. Actually, thinking about it, much more so the winter fuel payment. She didn't look right to me. She was doing interviews, she was saying this stuff, but she didn't look right.
It's almost like what she was saying was very scripted in her head, which we know obviously they've got plans in place, what they talk about and how they say it. But it looked like she was just there reading off the same auto cue.
By the way, very briefly, if I was back in recruitment and I saw complaints officer on a LinkedIn, on a CV, the economist on
LinkedIn.
Yeah, thank you, LinkedIn. I'd be phoning up for a reference. If I knew somebody who worked with her.
Yeah.
Or At worst, I'll go to HR and Kenny confirmed. Looks like she lied about Barry and misled us on how many years she worked for. She worked for.
Well, she claimed 10 years, and she was there 5.5, and a year of that was study.
That's very different. That's not a couple of months out, is it? No.
Just to finish off, I'll be writing to HR to confirm her dates of employment.
No, I think you're right.
Does this question bring questions about Labour's recruitment policy, not just at the top level of government, but as in MPs, getting people who are trustworthy? And we're seeing Reform at the moment under a lot of pressure to make sure they scrutinise their potential.
But they're under so much more scrutiny, that's why. And but you would think, I think when you've got a very young party like Reform, that, there are going to be some errors made, and there's going to be there are going to be a few mistakes while they get their procedures sorted out. But the Labour Party's been going quite a long time.
You'd imagine, especially someone they put so high up in government as well.
But just going back previously to what I was saying before, the haunted look that she had when she was talking about the pensioners and everything, you would hope, well, traditionally, you would hope that people might become a member of the Labour Party because, I know this sounds really naive, but that they might care about working people and maybe specifically vulnerable people, unlike the so-called nasty Tories. Yeah. So when she's having to do these interviews and deliver the line about the winter fuel payment thing, it must have. I'd like to think it goes against everything what they're supposed to be for. Yeah. It really does.
Yeah. I think also as well, the Labour were out of power for 14 years. There's very little scrutiny of the Labour Party. Those 14 years they were out of power, and they thought they could get away with anything and everything.
I think even under when Theresa May was in charge.
Oh, don't talk to me about Theresa May.
Before she did the snap election, no one expected the
Spanish Inquisition.
No,
sorry.
No one expected such a collapse from the Conservative at that election. They expected she was going to win with such a majority. It inevitably ended up being her dying on the hill, that election, that snap election.
Well, absolutely, but I don't know if you're aware, but I was watching Dr. David Starkey the other day, a good friend of mine actually, and he was on my other friend's show, Andre Walker's show on Talk, and he was saying about the things that Theresa May is responsible for. So me specifically, I'm not a fan of net zero. In fact, I've been called over the last week the notorious climate denier, Lois Perry, which I'm quite pleased about. But Theresa May actually, forced through the Climate Change Act and all of this legislation. Sorry, not the Climate Change Act, that was under Ed Miliband, but it was earlier. But she forced through the 2050 legislation about the decarbonisation, which is ludicrous. But she also brought in the whole non-crime hate incident thing. That was her as well. So, and this is supposed to be a Tory Prime Minister.
No
wonder we're in so much different. Honestly.
Yeah, then we had Priti Patel letting in 2 million immigrants at the end of the COVID thing, pandemic as well. This is meant to be the Conservative Party, Well,
my granddad, who I agreed with pretty much on everything, but I'm sorry, he's passed away now, but sorry, Granddad, I don't agree with you on this. He wanted us to stay in the European Union. And a lot of that was because when the European Union was set up, it wasn't supposed to be a super state. It was supposed to be a trading bloc. Yeah. But what he did say, which has come to pass, he said, if you stop the movement of free movement of labour, of Polish people and people that share our values and our religion, he said they won't stop needing cheap labour. They'll bring it over from countries that people have different faiths, different modes of thinking, different everything, right? And that is sort of what's happened, because all the delivery drivers, all the people that these jobs would have been done. I am a Brexiteer, but I'm just saying on that particular point, yes, that has happened. That is exactly what happened.
Well, the thing I would say about that is we have more power to control who comes in and out of the country.
No, I agree with you. But big business still want cheap labour.
Yes.
So it's coming in on the small boats. It's coming. It's coming in.
I'll tell you who got this. Who has this right? It's the Swiss. They have is guest work permits. You can never settle there permanently. You never get.
No, that's a good idea.
You never get citizenship for being there for 5 or 10 years.
Exactly.
Yeah. You bring your whole family over and their friends and their tennis partners and their pets. And
exactly.
All of that kind of thing.
Yeah, and their grandmother's cousin.
Yeah. Some of them out on the bus.
Well, apparently, so something like out of I think 1 million people we let in last year, only 18% were on work permits.
So what, the rest of them dependents?
82% were.
No. Wow. Okay. No
So
wonder.
is that one person bringing in 4?
Yeah, something
Yeah,
like that.
and and I imagine a lot of them aren't working.
Yeah, well, the
Matt
big,
Goodwin said that
Yeah.
it's not. They're not bringing in a benefit; it's
Yeah.
a cost.
you know, yeah. So I think it's grandparents, parents, and children are allowed in. So
Wow.
So
Well, I wouldn't have gone anywhere without my grandparents. So there you go.
This is the thing, isn't it? Oh, the history we built up the country after the war. People had to come over. We had to bring people back. But there's a certain level, I think, of
Absolutely, but we needed the Windrush generation. In fact, my stepfather was one of the Windrush kids. He came over in when did he come over, in the 60s or 70s? And you know,
Would have been before
people
68.
filled jobs. They filled the jobs. Yeah, how old is he now? He came
That's
over
the
when he was
difference,
about
isn't it?
8. He's 65.
They came over to work. That's the
Yeah.
difference. They came over to contribute. They were an asset to the country, not a liability.
Yeah,
And I think
absolutely.
that's the biggest thing.
And they had the same religion. And I know it shouldn't matter, but it does. Judeo-Christian values are intrinsic to everything in this country, and it does make a difference. It does. Yeah.
You don't have an organisation called Al Jamaica, do you? So
I want to bring it back onto onto Rachel.
I feel sorry for him having us too.
I want to bring it back to Rachel Reeves. Now, if Sir Keir Starmer knew that she lied on her CV, if he knew that about this expense scandal, should he be stepping down? Away from everything else, your opinions on Sir Keir Starmer put away, just on those two factors. Do you think that he should step down for appointing someone?
Well, the Lord Ali stuff should have brought him down. In fact, there's been so much stuff that should have brought him down. No, when I was a kid, you know, whatever you might think of the Conservative government or whatever, they would resign if they were found to be doing something even slightly dodgy.
Even someone like Boris Johnson, who
They
did not
fall
want
on
to
their
give up that
sword.
position. Yeah.
Absolutely. Nowadays, what do you need to do to feel that you have to resign?
Do you think that it's a Labour Conservative issue in terms of press in this country? Do you think the media are giving Starmer and his party a lot more?
They are.
Yeah. You know, there's two-tier policing. There's two-tier justice. There's also two-tier journalism in this country.
Two-tier care.
Yeah, two-tier and
Two-tier
two.
That's the name
Yeah,
that just keeps on
journalism.
giving. I've noticed his name, which is obviously he was obviously named after Keir Hardie. I imagine he was the founder of the Labour Party. Is that right? Yeah.
I think it was a different Labour Party, but it was a Labour
Right.
Party.
Yeah. So, but Keir is obviously quite an unusual name,
Yeah.
but it rhymes with so many things, doesn't it? It really is the gift that keeps on giving. I think so.
It's a shame his name wasn't Hunt, but never mind.
We'll leave Jeremy out of this one. But I want to go on to another scandal within the Labour Party, and that's the WhatsApp scandal.
I might have a slightly different view on this to what you.
Oh, well,
expect me to have.
are we both going to be the exceptions?
I think I know what you're going to say.
Yeah, it was private.
It was private. Now, is there a level of professionalism that they need to uphold? I mean, everyone's been part of a WhatsApp group where there's been stuff said.
I don't want
stuff.
I wouldn't want anyone going through my WhatsApps. I was de-WhatsApped for a while.
De-WhatsApp. What's de-WhatsApp?
De-WhatsApped is where they never tell you. It's never official. But because I was very briefly last year, I've had a few hats recently, but I was very briefly the leader of the UK Independence Party. Okay. And they removed my ability to have a WhatsApp account for a while.
Wow.
Yeah. And actually, I remember I was sitting there with tech support with EE, and the guy was, you know, I don't know if you ever had this, but I gave permission for the EE engineer to go into my phone. And he came into my phone and said, "Oh my God, there's someone else in here." So maybe he shouldn't have told me that, but not only was I do WhatsApp, but there was people in my phone, and I know that because EE told me. So it was a very strange, very, very strange time.
Sure,
very
yeah,
strange,
yeah.
but I've got it back now. So
You're
that's
back.
good.
You're
I'm back. I'm
The
alive
moment
again.
you stepped down, did you come back in, or was it?
It was. So I stepped down, and I had quite famously actually, I had about 6 weeks where I just digital detox. I didn't talk to anyone. I had a proper rest because I'd been very ill. I'd had pneumonia. Anyway, it's a long story. But so I didn't go on it straight away. I didn't have a phone at all. I put it in the sink. And then when I decided that I wanted to come back into to life again, Yeah, I discovered that I was unable to get access to my WhatsApp.
Oh, wow.
And that was on 2 or 3 different phones. And then I set up different email addresses to try and set up. And then as soon as it was worked out, it was gone. And anyway, but I've got it back now.
Well, okay, well, I was tempted to say, well, these are private conversations,
Yeah, it's the same. I agree with you.
Libertarians, all the,
Although there was some really nasty anti-Semitic stuff said on it.
yeah, well, there was indeed. But do you think as public officials, these people should be better behaved?
Well,
if they say that in private, what they thinking? What's the thinking behind it?
Well, yeah.
The argument I'd say that they've got is that if they have a friendship group where it's not a professional setting.
Yeah, it was a Labour group.
This is it. This is the problem. And one of the guests on, Sophie, who was on previously, she's I've seen on X, she's had an issue with this within the Conservative Party herself. People talking about her on there. But this was in a professional group.
Yeah.
So if you're at work, for example,
so kind of work,
that's the issue, isn't it? That's probably where the line gets.
But I
drawn.
mean,
And
he
some of the
actually
stuff
said he didn't want somebody to be invited to something because they had a Jewish sounding surname.
Yes.
I mean that I would have issue more with that than about the really dark, admittedly not very nice joke about the old lady pegging it or whatever.
There was about the constituent who were.
So I would be concerned if they're not allowing people into meetings based on having the wrong sounding surname. I think we should have got past that.
Yeah.
Don't you?
I mean, it was followed up as well with accusing Israel of genocide. There was AI-generated images of Rishi Sunak being deported to Rwanda. I think I saw that on
That's
X.
funny.
Yeah, but that's funny. I mean, yeah, that's just funny.
It's after I think it was after the election took place.
Yeah.
Education Minister Stephen Morgan, said that he'd also been implicated in a WhatsApp group in the Portsmouth Labour where offensive content was shared, calling veterans and pensioners Nazis and mocked a protest which took place. There was...
See, I haven't got... That's just silly, isn't it?
in a professional group as well. I think that's the issue here. Not saying that this is right things to be saying. I'm not saying it's a good thing to be doing at all. If it's your friends...
Yeah, so... Actually, thinking about it,
Somebody had a look at our WhatsApps. What would happen to us?
Oh no,
we'd be thrown off the bridge.
We'd be knocked up, wouldn't we? Yeah. But so with my ex DMs, I get loads and loads of abusive. I mean, some are really nasty.
Yeah.
Along with some death threats as well on my DMs. I get between 100 and 200 a day.
Wow.
Do you?
Yeah.
That's astonishing. Do you
Has
ever
anyone
report any
ever
of them?
asked
Have you
you-
ever taken it further?
one a month.
Is that because you feel like it's
It's
more
waste of
threat?
time. Waste of time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Waste of time.
Has anyone ever asked you to send them your underwear?
No, but you're welcome to.
If you want to get Nathan's underwear, you can get in touch by
No, but there's just a difference between what women get and what men get.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, 'cause you get-
I'll tell you after the show what I get.
Okay,
I'll tell you after the show. No, but the point is, you can report DMs, of course.
Yeah.
But when I reply to them, I'm not abusive back.
No.
Do you reply? Like, do you just not reply anymore?
Some I just delete, but some I what's the word? Screen grab and put their handle in and say thank you for your.
And tweet them out.
That's always the best thing. Whenever I've had, I mean, I'm very lucky that the majority of my stuff on X, on Twitter, is nice, actually.
Yeah.
But when I do occasionally get somebody say something about how I look, which
Is it
very
nice appropriate or nice inappropriate? Or a mix of
both.
Okay.
But I do occasionally get some nasty comments. Normally, if one of my things has gone viral across the left and the right of Twitter, and I just laugh.
You do?
You know, I just laugh, and they can't handle it because the left, they want to say something like you look bad or you've had too much work or whatever they want to say, and they want you to be really upset.
Yeah.
And if you laugh, it's actually, it was quite funny or whatever. Because I do give credit where it's due. If somebody says something that's offensive but quite funny, I say it's quite funny, well done. And they can't handle it.
Yeah.
They want you to be broken and crushed, and they quite often either don't come back or then they want to be your best mate. So have you found that? It's interesting.
No, yeah. But so just to sum up from my perspective, even if I do reply to an abusive and quite a horrible DM, I still keep it professional. Like, unlike those people.
It's your career. The issue is these people necessarily are going to lose their jobs, but whereas someone might go, we can't have him on because he said this.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen broadcasters like yourself being cancelled for some things which definitely should have cancelled them. Let's put it that way.
Yeah,
I
indeed,
won't go into detail, but it's your livelihood.
I also, it's quite difficult to pigeonhole me on certain issues. Like, so for example, I don't believe in any trans ideology for under 18s or under 21s. But I've got no issue whatsoever if somebody is a grown up and makes that decision. Yeah. And I also, and this is where I differ from other women, if someone has gone through the proper process, the 2 years, the 2 psychiatrists, all of it, and the whole thing, right?
The transition.
I've got no issue with them being in a woman's changing room, and that, because that's very different to a lot of other women. So I can't really be accused of being transphobic.
And I think women have the right. I mean, I'm not going to speak on behalf of women.
Well, I don't want a bloke in a wig in my daughter's changing room in Primark or wherever it is.
I agree.
With everything working, I just don't.
At the same time, even if they came through the transition and a woman said they didn't want that still, I'd respect that decision, because I feel like you are biologically women. We all know what a biological woman is, and
also Keir Starmer doesn't.
But
so well done, you're winning on that one.
2 genders and 98 mental illnesses,
Other things that was said was racist comments about Diane Abbott. So they've attacked their own party, and
racist comments about Diane Abbott.
I wasn't aware of that.
No, I didn't know about that.
I'm just trying to find the facts on my sheet in front of me, and we've also got sexism comments as well, directed at MPs in the Labour Party. So they're not just attacking the outside, they're attacking the inside. Are the Labour Party the nasty party?
I think it's more than fair to say that
the left is pretty nasty.
Exactly, Theresa May was the first person to identify the Conservative Party as a nasty party. Must have been pre-2010. I think that's a disgraceful thing to say.
She ruined leopard print shoes.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah.
She did.
It's not, the important point, as far as I'm concerned, you need a government to make tough decisions, and they might be unpopular decisions. Like if I hear the word austerity again, I'm going to metaphorically blow myself up. We do not have austerity. We have public spending that is way out of control.
That's completely.
But we're heading towards 3 trillion in debt now. If we have a default on that, the poverty and the civil unrest that will follow that would be unimaginable. And no politician, no party, seems to grasp what the situation is. I think it was Sir Robin Day who he said to Sir John Knott, who was then Defence Secretary, he said, "You're a here today, gone tomorrow politician."
Yeah. Did he have that programme? Was it called Impact?
I can't remember. You might have done. I can't remember.
My grandparents.
I'm not that old, but anyway. Maybe I am, but I can't remember it.
I'm just very well preserved. I'm 90 years old, actually.
Because they probably know they're only going to be in power 3, 4, 5 years. There's somebody else's problem, somebody else's problem. So we don't have long-termism. Now, the Conservative Party had the ability to be long-termist in 2010. They were in power for 14 years. Completely and utterly failed at my
they're globalist masters.
Do they have that power anymore, or are we looking at a reform who is genuinely the opposition at the moment? I know in government they aren't the opposition in terms of MPs.
No, I think so.
We're looking at over 200 MPs potentially projected for reform in 2029.
My prediction for the 2029 election, I think there will be a last-minute deal. Not sort of I don't think they'll meld together.
With Nigel as PN.
Yeah.
Do you think Nigel will be the PM?
I know he will be.
Okay.
Okay.
That's an exclusive.
It is exclusive.
There's no chance of Nigel. I mean, it is a long time between now and the 2029 election.
That man is fizzing with energy, right? He is. He's not going to run out of energy. He won't run out of momentum. He just gains momentum. Like if you're going down a hill sounds bad, but it gains momentum.
You've got to give him credibility. In 2016, he got Brexit through, right? It came to power in 2020.
He gets things done.
And a lot of politicians would relax back then. He had nothing to do with that Brexit deal. He was in no power or anything like that in terms of getting it over the line. Boris Johnson did.
He's the most significant politician that we've had, apart from Thatcher, in the last 50 years. Absolutely.
In terms of the course of the country.
In terms of the significance of the impact that he has had. You've got Churchill, Thatcher, Farage. The impact is extraordinary. And he's doing it again. He's doing it again now.
I'd say, Lois, I agree with you on that one. I think he's the only person I can... Maybe Rupert Lowe to a lesser extent. But
Nigel's a phenomenon.
But I think the only person who can really save this country is Nigel. And at the moment, the way I see things is, I just cannot see Britain getting any better in the next few years, if not a decade or so. We are now in a case of managed decline.
Do you think the Conservative Party is all done for? It's all
No.
done
I think they were formed in the 1820s as the oldest political party, I think, in the world.
Yeah, they're down but not out.
Yeah, indeed, yeah. No, they're probably sort of, probably slither their way back in.
Slither. I like that word.
But with a reforming, though, I mean, they're both very much on the right of the centre.
Yeah, indeed.
Well, no, the Conservatives aren't on the right or the centre. They're like Liberal Democrats at the moment.
Just short of releasing the Christmas single, that's all they are.
The left of the party, which are probably about 3/4 of Tory MPs.
And CCHQ.
Yeah, and CCHQ as well, yeah.
That's the problem.
Yeah, I know. And a quarter, a sort of reform centre-right, genuine centre-right people. No, I remember Sir Robert Buckland saying, when it comes to our MPs, we don't want people who are ideological. Sorry,
So have some sort of
so you're looking for wind-up Lord Tomlinson, sort of thing, and you just swallow what the party tells you, So no,
But they're not autonomous, the parties, are they? I mean, there's the phrase now, the uni party, the one party. And I was actually one of the most, or it's not the most complained about people on GB News by MPs once, because I did a thing on Mark Stein's show on GB News years ago when Liz Truss had been deposed.
Yep.
And they put Rishi in, or they were lining Rishi, And I said 55 MPs rung in GB News and complained about my segment. It got over 1 million views. It was quite cool, actually.
Sure.
So the segment was called Democracy is Dead, right? And basically, I just said, my fellow countrymen, you no longer have democracy. There has been a globalist coup. There's sleeper agents in the government, and the democratically elected by her party, your legitimate prime minister has been deposed, and the globalist good boy, Rishi, has been put in, who I believe, and a lot of credible people in the Conservative Party have said this to me privately, was put in place to run the Tories down.
Do you think so?
Yeah,
Who by?
yeah.
Who by?
Who's told me that?
No.
Who put him there?
Which, yeah.
Well, look at what happened. Look what they did to Liz Truss, blaming all of the it's quite complicated, but what the Bank of England deliberately did things and blamed it on her to make it look like she'd made interest rates go up. And that's all come out now, what they did,
Before in the programme, we have discussed it in terms of the political influence that the Bank of England and Jamaica had.
But you even had Biden putting his 2 pence in, talking about Liz Truss. You had everyone making comments about it. Oh, she's running down the economy too far, too fast, and all of that. It was orchestrated. It was an orchestrated attack on her to take her out.
It was largely Andrew Bailey at the Bank of England.
Right, okay. But they wanted their boy in. They wanted Rishi in.
What happened is 2 days before she came into power with quasi quota as the Chancellor's Exchequer, Bailey...
He sold her down the river.
Yeah, but what Bailey did was he deliberately went out and sold some bonds.
That's right,
to undermine her. And there was a
good
second
friend
tranche.
of mine can explain it really, really well. I can't.
So
I'm not going to try.
The second tranche was sold later on. That's still the fate.
Well, there was talk about more bonds being sold off now under this government, but there's nothing happening in regards to Rachel Reeves' position.
Well, no, of course they're not, because there isn't an orchestrated attack to try and remove her, which there was. There was a global orchestrated attack on Liz Truss to destroy her credibility, remove her, and put Rishi Sunak in place. And I said that on GB News, and I must have hit a nerve. I mean, for them to have had the largest amount of MPs complain about one segment.
They're watching. That's the main thing, though, right? They're always watching.
Well, thank you very much.
What's your thoughts in regards to when a party changes leader during their term reigning as the current Prime Minister, like we saw with Boris and to Liz Truss and to Rishi Sunak? Do you believe that within 6 weeks there should be called a general election? Boris did it when he took over from Theresa May.
Well, I think he was trying to get Brexit through.
That's the issue, wasn't it? That was
needed to do it.
Yeah, so
he called it within that short space of time. We came in October, called it for December. Do you think that there should be a 6-week period where they go, right, they've come in, they've got now 6 weeks to win the prime ministerial seat?
But I think it depends on the situation. Personally, I think sometimes the country needs a bit of stability for a bit. So I wouldn't say necessarily. No, I wouldn't say it had to be a rule.
Well,
No.
also the people in power wouldn't want to relinquish anything, would they?
Well, if you get a Blair situation where he
Yeah.
stood down, someone else came in, should there then be an election?
Well, Brown actually he would have done all right if he'd done that.
If he'd done it at that point, rather
but
than wait a couple of years.
he's not a brave man, so he didn't do it. But,
Well, I don't know. I think it was planned in advance that Brown was going to take over.
oh,
from
yeah,
Blair.
well planned in advance. I mean, Brown, after John Smith died,
Yeah.
he didn't want to run out of respect for his friend, so Blair ran instead. But yeah, but the plan was that he'd take over.
Yeah, I know. And it was all downhill from there, wasn't it? Sort of thing, you know.
I want to move on to the last topic, and that is JD Vance. He's been in Europe this week.
Oh, great. Isn't he lovely?
Already.
At the summit.
Look at us, we're both springing out of our chairs.
Essentially calling for what the Heartland stands for. Is that right? I mean, for the freedom of people to say what they want and not be in prison, essentially. Not just that, but not be in prison for talking their mind without actually.
Absolutely. Well, I'm madly in love with JD Vance. So yeah, absolutely everything he said I agree with, and they don't like hearing it, do they? No, they don't like hearing it. But I think what he said is extremely popular with the majority of the people that are, in the YouGov polls who are saying they're going to vote reform. It's very much linked, and of course you've got Nigel Farage's links to Trump. So it's all clicking in
Do you think
quite
they're helping
nicely.
reform at the moment? Do you think
Yeah,
the
I
Trump
think they are.
administration are helping
Yes, a
reform
bounce because making
over
people
here?
think it's possible. Do you agree
Well,
with
indeed,
that?
I don't know. The question I was going to ask is globalism dead? Or is globalism going to be on the decline now?
Yeah.
No, because JD Vance didn't.
He didn't hold
Take
back,
credit
did
for
he?
Silence. After the speech, there was silence in the audience. I don't think they knew what to do.
I know. I'm always at the time when Trump got elected first time, where all the Germans started laughing at him. And Trump
Not
was
laughing
right.
now.
Ain't laughing now. Exactly. So my takeaway from JD Vance was free speech.
Yeah.
A German president got up and said, "Well, we don't like X because it undermines democracy." That is one of the most.
Hey, free speech undermines democracy. Right, okay.
A bit like Joe Biden, was banging on about it. I'm sorry, X is the barrier between fact and fiction these days. There's a lot of rubbish on X. I've been caught out before reporting fake news, but I'm very.
So have I, actually.
I know. I'm happy to apologise.
Yeah.
I'm happy to sort of correct things.
Yeah.
I had one of the GB News presenters DM me and say you got that bit wrong, Dave. And I said, right, the complaints.
Hands up.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The complaints
fair
department works at 100 miles an hour, and I just made a note that I was wrong, deleted it, and the note stayed, and I reissued it as it should be. I'm going to do that any time of the week.
That's the difference between the left and the right, I think. I think that the left will not admit they've made a mistake. So sometimes people will get more entrenched in their positions, even if they've heard information that that's changed their mind. Internally, they will not admit it. Because
It's almost like they feel it's a defeat. Whereas
Yeah.
actually, they're just going to help themselves more. They're going to look more credible if they go, actually, you know what, hands up, I got that bit wrong, but this is the correct part now.
Yeah,
this is the
Look
right
at Russell
information.
Brand. Look at the about face he's had. I mean, not only has he, he's now Christian, which is fantastic. But I mean, I know Russell. He's a sweetheart. He's from Essex. He's from my manor, or near my manor. But he was very much on the left, and then he was telling people not to vote, and now he's saying everyone, big Trump supporter. Talking is one of his tweets. Is Trump the Messiah? I mean,
No, he's a naughty boy.
He's a very naughty boy. No, he is actually. But if you look at people like Russell Brand, that he's admitted that he was wrong about certain things, or he believes he was
He's
wrong.
been on a journey, hasn't he?
He's been on a massive
He's been on
journey.
several journeys, and he's the first one to hold his hands up again. And admit
Again,
that
but
he's
that's
been on them
big.
journeys.
That is big.
Actually, I just want a quick aside for myself. There's 3 or 4 things I've changed my view on. Been on X now for about 12 years, 13 years, something like that. I've become slightly more tolerant of the poor. They don't.
Pardon? The poor what?
Sorry, welfare. Slightly more tolerant of welfare.
Oh, right. You're like some lord and you're cousin. I am very tolerant of the poor.
Indeed, yeah.
I let them walk past my house.
And then clean my shoes and keep my feet at the same time. Yeah, sorry, I've become a lot more socially aware of the poor. That's
Right, okay. So what you're saying is you don't think they're all benefit cheats?
Yeah, exactly.
Right, okay.
And also as well,
It's very good of him, isn't it?
a lot of Muslims have persuaded me that our involvement in the Middle East is wrong. Certainly, maybe not less so Afghanistan, but certainly Iraq, where we were lied to by Bush and Blair.
Yeah, I believe.
I think we're the baddies in Iraq. And also, as well,
Yeah.
I've been helping out some of the...
And Libya.
Yeah, indeed. Don't start me off on that one.
Yeah.
And also in Ireland, I've become a lot more sympathetic towards Irish nationalism.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so, well, their sacred place of cenotaph is the GPO office in
Right.
Dublin.
Okay.
It was a scene of in April 1916, the Easter Uprising.
Right, yeah.
The British Army put it down brutally.
That being a libertarian, that's what it's about, right? Though being open-minded and actually understanding the facts and making an informed decision.
Exactly,
Yeah, again, as we were just talking about, my position on, for example, changing rooms and stuff would go against J.K. Rowling's, for example. But I do agree with her on 99% of what she said.
And the difference is, you would be able to have a conversation with J.K. Rowling, and you'd both
she'd
be able
be
to
cool.
agree that you both think that way. Whereas someone on the left, someone on the hard left, no, you're wrong.
No.
You think wrong. It's not that you're...
My mum's done a massive change as well. I mean, she used to go on Trump protest marches, right? and now she thinks the sun shines out of Nigel Farage's bottom. I mean, it couldn't be any more different.
Also,
It really
the other
couldn't.
surprising thing is the young people like Farage as well.
Oh, they love him. My little girl's got a WhatsApp group, and they all love him. And it's got a picture of him.
Why?
Because they just think they love all his memes and stuff that they love. He's on TikTok and Insta, and they see him as cool and different and real. Yeah, real.
Not so much his
That's very
policies.
interesting. Yeah, not necessarily. But then again, if that's how they get introduced into politics,
And he did I'm a Celebrity.
of course, of course.
Indeed, yeah.
They just think he's cool.
Matt Hancock did I'm a Celebrity, but did they have a...
Quite the same effect, did it? I didn't have quite the same effect.
But one thing I'm going to leave you on, there
Okay.
was a tweet from Elon Musk about JD Vance becoming the European president.
Well, why not?
Yeah.
I'll have a word with it. By the way, my claim to fame is Elon Musk follows me on X.
I did see that. I did see you announce that. And
Did you know that Elon Musk has a ketamine prescription?
wait,
that's
outed
gonna
Elon
be
Musk
cut.
now?
Cut.
It's true.
Really?
Yeah, but it's not illegal. It's
prescribed.
It's prescribed. Yeah. It's maybe that's when he does all the mad tweeting all night.
Elon, if you want to come on the program, just correct the file. Reach out.
I know. I'm never going to be retweeted by Elon now.
Lois, before we end up the program, you've got some exciting news you'd like to share with us.
Yes, it is very exciting. So I talked briefly about the show. My very good friend Andre Walker from Talk TV. We used to do a show together that was huge, actually, called That Was the Woke That Was, and it's sort of like a Have I Got News for You style program. We will be doing a two-man show, the Andre and Lois show, as the official entertainment act at the Reform Rally next month, the end of March.
Are you going to be singing?
No, but we will have audience participation, and we will have a Wheel of Fortune, and we will be having a Reform MP as our glamorous assistant.
Right,
Can you share who, or are you not?
We
allowed?
don't know. It's either it's one of two at the moment, and Richard Tice isn't in the mix.
Okay.
So you can guess who it might be.
By the way, also keep an eye out on me and Lois's Twitter because we should be doing a podcast together this week, shouldn't we?
Yeah, we've got the Dave and
Amazing.
the Dave and Lois. Is it Lois and Dave? No, Lois and Dave
It's Lois and
always
Dave,
right
ladies
show.
first, so,
yeah. Lois and Dave always right show.
Always right.
And all your links will be put out on on X when that comes
Yeah.
through.
Yeah, I'm Dave Atherton 20, and
Sadly, I'm not 26, but I'm Lois at Lois Perry 26.
He was last year, right?
Yeah.
David.
There's parts of me that's 26 years old. Does that count?
I think 1890 rather than 1990.
You're dead. I quite liked him.
David
Do you
Lois.
want to go for a drink?
Thank you both for coming on the program.
No, thank you.
You're very kind.
Thank you very much.
Well, that's all, unfortunately, we do have time for today. Thank you to my guests, David and Lois, for joining me on the programme. Will Rachel Reeves still be our Chancellor this time next year? Well, the question's up to Keir Starmer. Will the WhatsApp kick off like they did with our guest Lois, the Labour candidate as well? We'll soon find out. And will JD Vance potentially be the future President of Europe? Never say never. You've been watching In Focus with me, Curtis Hinton, on Q's News.